Trump so persuasive, and how can salespeople use these techniques to increase their influentialness at work? I'm Andrew Barbuto, the top sales producer, and that's what I'm going to discuss with you today. Regardless of whether you're on the right or the left, it'd be extremely difficult to argue that Donald Trump is not persuasive after securing his second term in office. I'm going to discuss a few easy to implement techniques that I've observed him use on a regular basis to persuade people during his speeches, during debates, and when in person. Then I'm going to talk about how you can use them to increase your persuasiveness with colleagues, clients, and in life. Stay tuned into the end because it just might surprise you how basic and easy to implement these are and how powerful they can be when mastered. This is not a political video. I'm just going to talk about things that I've observed, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about why Obama is so persuasive. Let's jump into it. The first one I'm going to discuss is speaking in simplified terms. Donald Trump speaks in terminology that anybody can understand. He does not come off as a polished politician. His vocabulary does not include words that are not commonly used. You can use this by talking in plain language, avoiding acronyms, and big words and industry jargon that your prospect may not understand, may overwhelm them, and just make things more complicated than they need to be. Keep things simple. In order to explain complicated topics in plain language, you need to have a thorough understanding of the topic that you're speaking about. Speak as if you were explaining it to your parents or your grandparents. The second one I'm going to talk about is tapping into people's emotions, for better or worse. As we know, people buy an emotion and they justify their decision with logic. In order to influence change, you need to tap into your prospect's emotions. By touching on trigger points and getting to the heart of what's causing people's pain, he elicits emotions. Emotions are what drive change. You can use this by tapping into your prospect's pain points and discussing what their objectives are. You want them to have a positive emotion, or you want to elicit emotion which drives change, such as the fear of missing out. He also taps into fears by talking about what could happen, the negative consequences, if his opponents are elected. You can use this technique by talking about some of your competitors. If you have some insider knowledge, if you've heard some horror stories from your clients, use that in your meetings so that way you can speak about what could happen, the negative consequences of going with the competition. And as we know, in B2B sales, the most common competition is the status quo. You need to make sure that they know that the risk of staying the same is greater than the risk of change. The next one I'll talk about is the collaborative language that he uses. He uses we and us when he's speaking to his crowd. This creates a us versus them mentality and positions him as a teammate of his crowd. They feel like he's on their side and they have an ally in him. This is something that you should do in your sales cycle. Throughout the entire process, position yourself as your clients or your prospects' teammates, especially when it comes to negotiating. You want to position yourself as your champion's teammates, helping them sell internally, and then asking for them to help you do the same. The next technique that he uses is flattery. Trump can be a charmer. The way that you can use this is by giving genuine compliments throughout your meetings and any interaction that you have with your prospects. If you notice that they made a smart point, or if they did a great job on something or asked a smart question, let them know. This is going to elicit a positive emotion. You can also use framing, which means tapping into their own self-image and using that to give them a compliment, which is going to resonate more. For example, if it's clear based on their questions that they care a lot about their team, then you can say something like, "It's been very clear to me that you're very team-oriented. How this platform works in enhancing team collaboration is by centralizing everything in one place and using communication tools. Regardless of where you are in the States, you're able to be in one centralized location." If it's clear based on what they say that they're very client-centric, you could say, "It's clear that you care a lot about your clients. This platform will help you deliver better customer service faster and offer more valuable services to your clients, so that way you're a better partner to them." Next, a key component that Trump uses in all of his speeches is storytelling. In sales, you have to be a master storyteller. And the best way to tell a good story is by telling one that the prospect or the client is going to resonate with. They're going to see themselves in the story. You want to utilize a common challenge with a similar client, talk about a challenge that your prospect may have faced and can relate to, talk about how they used your product or service or partnership and what the outcome was as a result. You can also talk about the consequences when you're telling stories. about partners that didn't make the change and what went wrong for them. Storytelling is a critical part of sales. You need to master storytelling in order to be a good salesperson. In a good story, you have the beginning, where you demonstrate the situation, it needs to be relatable to your prospect. As a middle, what went wrong, what were they trying to accomplish, what the solution was to help with that challenge or with that goal, and then finally the ending, what was the outcome. Your product, solution, or offering should be what helped get to where they wanted to go. Your offering, your company is the hero, your champion is the winner. It's also just as important how you tell the story as it is the story itself. Donald Trump knows that in order to drive home a point, you need to repeat it. At the end of a presentation or a meeting, simply recap the key points of value that they indicated during your conversation. You could say something like, based on our conversation, it seemed like these 3 points would be most valuable to you. They would solve this challenge and they would help you achieve these priorities. Is that correct? Reiterating the key points of value at the end and then in a follow-up message is something that will help with driving home the point and instilling it in your prospect's mind. Another way that you can use repetition is by using the law of repetition that is talked about in the book Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He actually covers a lot of these topics in his book. The way that he talks about it is the fact that people are more likely to commit something once they've already said that they will do it. How you can use it is by reiterating exactly what they said that they would do in your email. So if they said, I will follow up with particular data, or I will follow up with our availability, oftentimes prospects get busy. You simply repeat, hey, I know you mentioned that you would send over this data, or I know that you mentioned that you were going to send over your avails, or you mentioned that you were interested in moving quick on this. By reinforcing what they said, this repetition will help with driving action, confidence, and strength. It's really important that you have conviction in everything you say. You need to be confident about your offering and your company's ability to deliver on your offering if you want to be successful. Confidence will transfer to your audience. So they will be able to pick up whether you are truly confident about your solution or not. So make sure that you work somewhere and you have an offering that you can be very confident in, and that you convey that confidence in your meeting. The next one I'll talk about is making sure that his audience knows that he will take care of everything. He will make their life as easy as possible. All they have to do is vote for him, and everything will be sunshine and rainbows. He makes things very easy. He makes them understand, his audience understand, that they do vote for him, he's got it. He can take care of it. How can you use this in your sales meetings? You want to make it clear to your prospect that you will make their life as easy as possible. Reiterate all of the value that you're going to be delivering, all of the services and support that you're going to be providing. Make sure they know that you're going to make their lives as easy as possible, both in the transition period and post-sale, by telling them what that process will be like. Oftentimes, prospects will build up something in their mind. You need to put their concerns at ease by walking them through step by step exactly what's going to happen and how you're going to take care of it for them. People don't like change, so you need to reduce the concern, the anxiety that comes associated with change, and reduce the risk by making it clear that all the things that you're going to do for them, also reiterate how you've done this in the past for similar clients. With that, what Trump does often is to exaggerate what the outcome will be if he gets elected. He will often say in his speeches that everything's going to be amazing afterwards. If you just vote for me, we're going to go into the golden age of America. If you vote for my opponent, we're going to be in a depression. Now, this is clearly hyperbole. I wouldn't recommend you going that extreme, but there's nothing wrong with showing that you are confident that they're going to be very happy with the outcome and giving them examples of what it will be like if they do choose to work with you by referencing similar clients. Make sure that if you've seen great results, you demonstrate that in customer testimonials, in case studies. You need to make them aware that their life will be much better with your solution. And however that you need to convey that, so that way they can build confidence in you and their self, in their ability to make a change, and it's the right decision. That's a very important sales tactic that Trump uses, that he understands, that you can use in your day-to-day meetings. that comes social proof. So, as we know, Trump uses social proof maybe better than anyone. He shows up in his rallies with his plane. He talks about how rich he is. He name drops all the time his friends. He references his college degree. He talks about all of his accomplishments in his business world. You need to do the same thing, but perhaps to a lesser extent. So by demonstrating social proof, by providing case studies, testimonials, or more often stories, tell a success story. Talk about a client. If you can name drop a similar client, that's the best way to influence change, because you are biased as a salesperson, but if you're working with a similar client that your prospects heard of, that's going to give you more credibility. Dr. Robert Cialdini calls this, in his book Influence, social proof. Basically saying other people did this, so you should too. You can use social proof throughout your sales cycle. Everything from the beginning initial meeting by showing case studies and customer testimonials and stories of clients, all the way through the end of the sales cycle when you're negotiating by reinforcing. We've done this many times. Check out all of these case studies. If you need a customer referral, I'm happy to provide you one. I've never lost a client due to poor customer service or poor customer experience. Saying something like that can help give your prospect the confidence that they need to get over the finish line. This is even more critical if it's the first time that you're working with them, because they don't have any previous experience. So naturally, they're going to be a little bit risk averse before working with you or committing to long term. The way that you can build confidence when you don't have previous experience working with this prospect is by showing social proof and showing similar clients that have been successful, giving customer referrals, giving testimonials, giving customers that they can reach out to, expert reference, anything that can show them this is something that your peers are doing that will help with building that confidence when there's no experience to fall back on. Finally, last but not least, Donald Trump is an expert in tonality and voice inflection. He tends to give very long speeches, sometimes between 1 and 3 hours long. In order to keep people's attention for that long, you need to constantly be mixing up your voice inflection, your tonalities, the speed at which you're talking, your emphasis during key points. And if you're very monotone, chances are you're going to lose your audience. So as salespeople, in order to keep people's attention, we need to be constantly switching up our speed of speaking, our tonalities. We need to emphasize key points. And this goes hand in hand with storytelling. It's not just about the story itself, it's also about how you tell the story, which is going to ultimately resonate and deliver and elicit emotions. Think about the way that a school teacher would read a book to a third grader. If they're very monotone, they're going to lose their attention immediately. They need to be very animated. They need to emphasize when big things are coming up. This is going to be the best and most effective way to keep your prospect's attention. I made a video on Jordan Belfort, who is an expert at tonality. He breaks down his main tonalities that he uses in the book Way of the Wolf. Jordan Belfort himself said that what he attributes to being the number one reason why he's so influential is his expertise in mastering tonalities. If you can master your tonalities, switching up speeds, using emphasis, you will maintain your prospect's attention, you will transfer confidence, you will be able to effectively communicate your message to your prospect in a way that will be remembered. People don't remember stats, people remember relatable stories that elicit emotions. Remember, people make decisions based on emotions first, and then they justify it with logic. So the best way to elicit positive emotions is through your tonality. Most of our communication is not through the words we say, but how we say them, as well as our body language. So make sure that you're constantly being cognizant about the tonalities that you're using in meetings, switching them up to maintain attention. Go check out my video for a full breakdown of the tonalities that Jordan Belfort talks about in his book, Way of the Wolf. To recap, those are the main things that I've seen Trump be an expert in that have made him so influential. Speaking in simplified terms, tapping into people's emotions, using collaborative language, complements effective storytelling, repetition, confidence, and making sure that his audience knows that he will take care of everything and things will be significantly better on the other side. He speaks in hyperbole, exaggerating in language that anybody can understand. He uses social proof to build credibility and reinforce his message. And finally, he uses various tonalities, mixing up his speed and his voice inflection in order to maintain attention, drive home points, and transfer confidence to his audience. By implementing these techniques in your sales career, you too can instill confidence in your prospects, colleagues, and everyone in life. This will greatly increase your influence, persuasion, and ability to make sales. Stay tuned to my next video where I cover off on why Barack Obama is so persuasive. As you can imagine, it's going to be very different than this one, but there are some commonalities. And go check out my video on Jordan Belfort where I talk about why he is so persuasive with an emphasis on his voice inflection and the various tonalities that he talks about in the book, Way of the Wolf. Feel free to head over to andrewbarbuto.com to get a sneak peek at my upcoming book, Top Sales Producer, How to Crush Your Sales Quota, which is a step-by-step guide taking you from day one to crushing your sales quota and takes you through the exact tactics of what to say and do of how I closed $250 million in my career. It's coming this winter, and you can also download a free script that I use to secure next steps and meetings within 5 minutes at andrewbarbuto.com/meeting hacks. Always remember, if you're not helping, you're not selling. Thanks.